Yes. Yeah, it's something. It's just a few things. If you want to veer off of dreams, which we're live now, if you want to veer off of dreams, I'm about that too because I think a lot of what goes on in this podcast sticks a little too closely to dreams. When I'd like
Mhm.
to hear what makes the dreamer, if you get what I'm saying. Like I want to know that people love movies, what their favorite movie is, like where they draw their inspirations from, all that stuff. But now that we're live, I guess we should go ahead and, well,
And feel
in
free
the
to throw any of that at me. I'm happy to answer questions like that too.
awesome, awesome. Let me
Is there a way for
see
me to see the
here.
chat, or do I just like, should I just like go to Twitch or?
I mean, if you
I
want,
don't
if you want to go to Twitch, you can. Usually with chat, it's all about just keeping up with it.
Oh
But
yeah, so like I just wanted to make sure I could see it.
yeah, we are going into the pre-show conversation though. And I wanted to ask, being that we have somebody in the industry, like what game unexpectedly blew your mind this year?
It might be kind of boring, but I really, really like triangle strategy. Like, I already enjoy like tactics games in general, so like I knew I was gonna have fun with it. But
Hmm.
like the writing and the characters and like how much you actually had to like pay attention to like the characters' sensibilities with the dialogue choices, because like you're in these like scenarios where everyone votes on what to do, and you have to like sway each character to your side. I was like surprised how often like, a dialogue option that you unlocked by talking to other people wasn't necessarily the right choice for the character you're talking to. Like you
Huh.
actually it wasn't very it didn't feel like a video game. It felt very organic. Like I actually had to pay attention to like, well, this character tends to think this way. So I should make sure that I use like pick this dialogue option. Like that was very surprising.
Hmm.
Very pleasantly surprising. Really loved that game.
Work.
Um, what else did I play this year? Oh, one that probably like I feel like I'm the only one who played is Solstice, which is it's like an action hack and slash, like very Devil May Cry type game with like very very on the nose Berserk references, and I'm told references to Claymore, but I haven't seen that. Um, and yeah, just like played really well. Like it's like the perfect double A game,
Hmm.
like that kind of middle ground where it doesn't quite have like the triple A budget, but is like a step above like what you would expect from an indie game.
Yeah.
Could not recommend that more. Super fun if you like Devil May Cry, especially. It felt like a
Solstice.
yeah, but like Soul, because it's like about a solstice of souls, which never stops being funny whenever someone in the game says it. But the game itself is like the story is actually pretty good, well acted. I liked it a lot.
Huh. And you, Jamie? Jamie, I can't hear you all of a sudden. Why can't I hear you?
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
There you go. Okay. So mine for me isn't exactly a game that blew my mind, but a game that surprised me the most this year was Death Stranding. I went into that game with the expectation that it was going to be very boring because of obviously what everyone's made a meme of it now. But I
Mhm.
thought, I'll just give it a go, see what it's like, and really shocked me. Like the story is absolutely fantastic, and the gameplay, although it is just like a lot of walking, it's got a lot of depth to it. Like I didn't
Yeah.
Mhm.
expect it to have this depth to it with a walking sim, and I wouldn't really consider it a walking sim personally, but it
Yeah,
was it was such a like a real fresh game, something that I've never experienced before. And that
Yeah.
was I really enjoyed having something so different and unique that has just never been done before. Because the majority of games, it's a lot of the same thing, just packaged differently now.
Yeah.
Whereas this was something completely new and not done before, and I really, really enjoyed the experience. It was great.
Huh.
I love Death Stranding. Um, had a really good time with it.
Yeah.
It
The
actually came out
experience.
like right after my daughter was born, and she was like napping in my lap a lot. So like I had like my real bridge baby while playing. Such a
Indeed.
such a great game. Great soundtrack. Just very very good vibe to it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
If we get a sequel.
I think the biggest surprise of the year for me, other than what we discussed last episode, of course, would have to be Sifu. Like that game
That
was super
yes.
solid. It was as difficult as it needed to be. They put in an easy mode for people so they'd stop complaining or to cut off the complaining. But like any fan of old school martial arts films, Snake and the Eagle Shadow, The Crippled Avengers, Shaolin versus Wu Tang, and 36 Chambers, like they would be ecstatic to see how well that they translated everything from like the fighting, the precision, conceptualization, the presentation. It felt like you were playing one of those old games, and honestly, felt like Slow Clap, the developer who did Absolver back in 2017. Like this, it felt like Absolver was the. Honestly, it felt like it was the how would you say the
Like the
prototype.
prototype. Yeah,
Yeah, for what
I
they
can see that.
wanted to do but didn't know how to yet, and they really hit it out with Seafood. That's my opinion, at least. I'd have a harder time to go back to our last conversation, Jamie. I'd have a harder time arguing against Elden Ring as game of the year if you had said Sifu. Like,
Okay. All right.
like truly, I would have had a harder time. Once again, not to throw any shade or
Mm,
anything on God of War, which is amazing. So it's time to get going, guys. Are we ready?
I believe we are.
All
Cool.
right. And right after these messages, folks, we'll be right back. And welcome, everybody, to the actual Made in Dreams episode 98. For those, if you were around last week or 2 weeks ago before the holidays and got duped, I guess. I felt like some people took it as us duping them, but you know what? I'm happy with it.
Oh, it was
But
great.
it's episode 98. The road to episode 100 continues. I'm your host, Mighty Vicious, as always, joined by Jamie James, Esquire the Third, and today it's going to be a fantabulous day, ladies and gentlemen. We're joined by JC Hedges, creator of the character Grit in Dreams. How you doing today, bud?
Good. I got no sleep last night, but otherwise I'm doing good. Oh, I see my
I'm
buddy Tubazo in chat also.
nice. Welcome. So, I guess as always, glad to have you on, and I appreciate you going through the process of getting the okay to talk to us today. So, tell us about yourself, as much as you care to share.
Sure. So yeah, I'm Jordan. I'm a UX designer in the game industry. So my job is to basically make sure that the screen in Sonic Frontiers, where you have to upgrade your stats one by one and wait 30 seconds between each time you do it, doesn't happen. Like I'm so thankful for that because it makes it so much easier to describe my job. I just point to that and I say, I just make sure that that doesn't happen. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I've been in the industry for about 5 years now. I got my start in it I was very lucky. I was not working in the industry, but really wanted to, and had been working as a UX designer for about 5 years before that. And I, I decided I really wanted to actually like pursue that dream of working in the games industry. So I started this YouTube channel where I reviewed UX in games to kind of like demonstrate my skill set in the context of video games.
Hmm.
And from there, I like ended up getting some contacts in the industry. Someone referred me to a recruiter, and then I got the job that I have now, and I love
Wow.
it. Um, I was extremely lucky because throughout that process, I think it's on my pin tweet. I put out, I'll get the actual number. It was, uh, I put out 85 total applications. 25 I heard back and was rejected. 51 I never heard back. Two, I did an art test but didn't get hired. Six people actually talked to me, and then one recruiter, or one referral to a recruiter, got me the job that I have now.
Wow.
Persistence.
So it was a bit of a journey. I have a spreadsheet, keep making sure that like I didn't, like apply to the same place twice, and it's got so many rows.
Indeed.
Um, yeah, and then I got really interested in Dreams kind of shortly before it launched. So I wasn't really like aware of it during the open beta, but like once I became aware of it, I immediately wanted to get into it. It came out like right after my daughter was born. So like at the point in my life where I have like the least amount of time to get into a hobby like this. Um, there's like there's this scene in the movie The Last Unicorn where this woman sees the unicorn for the first time, and she's like so upset that this is like she is only seeing a unicorn for the first time when she's like old and had long like lost all hope of ever seeing anything magical like that, and
Yeah.
she's like angry. And like for me, Dreams is the unicorn. um, but I still, obviously I've found time and I've really enjoyed using it as a way to like bring to life a character I otherwise wouldn't have been able to bring to life. Like I'm embedded in UI pretty much all day, so Dreams is kind of where I get to be more creative, and like I learned how to 3D model and animate and
Mm.
start like moving this character around, and Dreams made that super easy, like with the procedural animation I didn't have to animate walk cycles, which makes me so happy because I hate doing that. I tried, getting into trying to like, make a game or animation or something on my own, and like the barrier was just always like this, it's just so much time investment, like making a game outside of Dreams, you got to juggle Unity and graphic like 3D like Blender, all these various different programs. I'm sure everyone says the same thing about Dreams. That's what's so great about it, is that it's just all in one. You just sit there with a controller and you make pretty much anything. And yeah, that's why I really like it. Like it was finally like the casual creation tool I always wanted. So I've
Well,
been finding whatever time I can to work on it, and having a really good time doing it.
we're going to get back into your experience creating within Dreams. But for now, I want to go ahead and put your work up
Mm.
while you speak about Grit so that everyone can kind of go along with you on the journey of how you began working on this character as well as moving forward with what you're working on in Dreams now. So
Sure.
um, let's go ahead and switch that over and give the reins completely to you. You tell us about Grit.
Oh man. Okay. It's always like weird when I actually like talk about it or talk about like the character and stuff, because like it all makes perfect sense in my head, but then when I try to get it out, it always comes out jumbled. I'll do my best. But yeah, like what you're seeing now actually was my first attempt at making a game with her in RPG Maker. Um, it was going to be just like a walking and talking game, so like no turn-based combat or anything. It was very simple. And like the hook of the game that I was going for was that you're actually playing as this little kid who Grit is protecting. So like I was trying to flip the role of like, your Last of Us type games where you're playing as the person being escorted, and the whole point was that you could move around freely, but she would, grab your hand and pull you along if you like veered away and stuff. So it was kind of meant to be just sort of a like just kind of like a interactive story experience where you walk around and talk. So this was me trying to do it with I hadn't like gotten the kid in there yet, but the idea was like one character would walk ahead, but they would like stop and wait for you. And I was trying to get like real time dialogue working because like in that engine, whenever you pulled up a text window, it froze everything, which makes sense for a turn based like
Yeah.
old Final Fantasy style game. But so like immediately I was fighting with the engine I was using to like I learned how to write my own plugins and like figured out how to turn off the line of code that freezes the game. And um, yeah, so like that was my first attempt, and I got pretty far along in it, and then it just kind of like, well, that timed out well. Yeah, like I got pretty far along, but it just like wasn't really working, and I gave up on it. And then I started trying to make the character in Dreams, and like the first thing I did was try to do the hair because that was important for the look of the character. Like so, like cloth and hair were kind of the first things I tried to do. So I stuck with these kind of like basic sculpts for a long time. This was me fighting with the fact that for some reason the camera kept on clipping into her with the hair.
Ah.
Uh, yeah, like I like eventually just using my own third person camera, or in this actually Elka's third person camera was what ended up fixing it eventually.
Hmm.
But yeah, so like I guess my journey in Dreams was like kind of trying to make this character come to life, and also learning 3D modeling and animating and everything. And of course, like just learning how to use Dreams itself all at the same time. And like, I tend to like, whenever I pick up a tool, I tend to just kind of learn what I need to learn. I've never been very good at like learning like globally how everything works. Like, like holistically. So like, there's plenty of like fundamental things in Dreams. I don't know how to get into it all, like anything to do with audio pretty much.
I
And
mean, it's best to approach it the way you did, like starting out with hair and cloth. I remember when you were building the rig for the cloth, and then I don't think I saw you messing around with, or at least I don't think you posted about how you were working with the hair, but building the rig for like the cloth simulation, I do remember. And it's funny
Yeah.
because those are the things that are like the absolute hardest thing to do
yeah,
Yeah.
so
sculpt wise.
exactly. Like I was immediately was like, I need to see if I can do this one thing because that's what will let me stick with the tool. Like because like if I can't do the hardest thing to do, then like I'll just need to think about using another one. So like I was really happy once I managed to figure something out. It's
Yeah.
actually funny. My cloth rig for Grit has gotten significantly less complicated than any of the stuff that like I posted on like tutorials and YouTube and everything. Just like as I got the character like moving around more and doing like quick, rapid movements, like the simpler the rig, the better at that point. Like I'm just a lot less likely to, um, clip into stuff,
Yeah.
or mostly into the character. But I am still using one of the methods that I figured out where like if you teleport a sculpt onto the character that collides with stuff and then make something hanging off the character collide with that, then the physics of the character don't get messed up. So I use that to make her legs bump into her coat, which adds a nice little bit of movement to I don't know why I did the middle finger thing. I think I was just trying to be funny in that video. I still think it'd be kind of funny maybe to add like a taunt or something in the game. Yeah. This rig I don't use anymore. The shoulder cloth, it was just like too hard. Like I got it working, but it was just like ended up being too funky. But I'm glad I did all those explorations though, and I hope that like the videos that I did for that helped other people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
all part of the
Vivian comes
transition,
along.
isn't
And,
it?
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, you doing those versions is what's led you to the version that you have now. So, like, it's a whole process, isn't it, to find out that ultimate version of what you want and how to create it.
Absolutely. And
So-
then that Visium comes along with
Mhm.
the trick with bake to paint, which is amazing.
Yeah.
It would have saved me so much.
Yeah. I just
Visium is fantastic and has helped out with some other stuff on Gray. Very thankful for that to be there.
I mean, that's the beauty of having people share their techniques. And even
Yes.
if you're not giving the assets, sharing techniques, because there's a
Exactly.
I can't remember who it is, but somebody like basically calls out everyone who
Yeah.
posts and like on Twitter when they do something and people are like, "Hey, how do you do that?" And they're like, I might make a tutorial or something." And the person's just like, "Yeah, because you wouldn't want to help out the
All good.
Dreamiverse or anything." I laugh.
All
I
good.
laugh all the time. I can't
Thought I left
remember
my
who
office
that is,
door. Thought I
but
left my
yeah.
office door. I just wanted to come see me. But yeah, I don't know what I was talking about.
Well, finishing with the hair and physics for the coding, which you worked with through Visium's technique, like what was next for you, I guess? What did you feel you wanted to attack?
It was probably the transforming hand, which was a lot of fun to do. Um, it's like that's like a big part of her too, is the mechanical arm, and I always liked the idea of it like transforming into weapons, but like it still being a hand. So I thought it was cool that like when it's like this, it's a sword, and then like when you make the gun shape, it's like it's a gun. So I
Mm.
had a lot of fun like figuring out the mechanics of that and like having the revolver chamber like built into the hand so that the barrel is like the pointer finger. Like I'm like a huge sucker for like transforming mechanical weapons, like all the stuff in Ruby and like Cloud's like stupid sword and Advent Children. Like I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
Did you keep the scooter leg thing?
Oh no, I nixed that because I wanted to do the like kind of Gears of War sprint. I was having more fun with that. Um,
Mm.
Okay,
I
I
do
was just
sometimes
wondering
go back.
because
Yeah,
it's on the
yeah.
video, and I was like, I don't remember him showing that to us before. So yeah, I like the way that looked, but yeah,
Yeah, like I think the most fun of that was that I figured out how to make it work entirely with the procedural animation. So what actually happened with that was the foot on the character would fold up in such a way that like it was no longer touching the ground, so the procedural animation on the leg would stop trying to walk. So like
Oh,
without actually doing any animating, I just made it work. And
that's
then like
clever.
yeah, I was very proud of myself with that. I kind of figured it out by accident. It's actually funny the mechanical leg thing came about from working in dreams. Like she didn't actually have that before. I found a drawing that I did for it like a while ago. Oh, it's
nice.
totally out of sync
Well, raise it a little bit.
yeah. Oh,
There we
there we
go.
go. I'm looking at
Yeah,
my camera. So like
Nice.
you can see the origin of the arm thing,
Mm.
except she had a sword before instead. What is now a cane. But yeah, so that was like it's just been that's basically been my journey in dreams. It's just like coming up with cool stuff for Grit to do, and she's kind of turning into like a greatest hits of all the character mechanics that I like from video games, like double jump, grappling hook, uh, transforming weapon, rocket hammer, like being able to deflect projectiles, like just everything that's cool that I think is cool is
Mm.
basically what she is.
Mashed it all into
well,
one character. Love it.
I mean, it's perfect. The
Yeah.
thing is, I wasn't going to bring it up until you said it, but we need to talk about that grappling hook or the grappling hand
Yes.
thing. We have to, because even though it's not showing on the screen just yet, for the real, I just want like I hope you're really happy with
I am.
that
I'm very happy
creation
with Grappling Hook as it is now.
because
I actually have completely scrapped and redone it once now.
I'm telling you, you have achieved something that so many people have tried. And I mean a lot of people who are some big names that are like seen in the upper echelon of dreams. That mechanic has stumped people. And even with certain things that we were working on, I would try to pull in people who are like the logic geniuses and all this stuff to try to make it work. And they never got it to where you have it. And I'm not throwing shade at them. I'm saying it's super hard. And I mean, I wouldn't have any hope in hell of
Oh,
recreating it.
no way.
I mean, I have a
It's
character with a robotic arm that that we were creating for Dino, and literally, it's just like we chose to move forward with it, being that it's not really a playable character. We chose to move forward with it as like we'll just do movie magic to to make it work. But I just really, like I said, I'm glad you're happy with it, but I hope you know that you've achieved something that a lot of people have wanted that a lot of people can't make. So
It's really funny that you say that because like I, I I've made it a lot more complicated than it needs to be for what like most people need from like a grappling hook in a video game. I almost forgot that it did that. At one point, she stored the baton in the arm instead. But
yeah,
yeah, um, so like the thing I wanted to do with her grappling hook was like I wanted it to kind of feel like something really tangible that you can mess around with. So that's why like after grappling you can run around and the rope is attached and tethered and has physics and stuff. Like I really wanted like it to feel like something that you can mess around with. I still want to do something with the physical rope, like maybe you can use it to like trip enemies or something like that. But I mostly just wanted it to feel like a toy that you're playing with, if that makes
yeah,
sense. But like
Mm.
for most video games, like a straightforward grappling hook is you aim, you shoot, and it pulls you to it. And like I feel like doing that in Dreams is actually really easy. Like that specific part is not that hard. Um, for me, like actually the tricky part was getting the physical rope to work and having the and making sure that like the character was tethered. But like because like so basically what's going on is that there's actually a little cube with a follower on it following her around. She's directly connected to that cube with a string connector, and then when you fire it, that cube goes to where you aimed it, and now you're like actually tethered, and then the rope is just like a prop that's sort of floating between those 2 points. Um, but yeah, like if you just want to make a grappling hook that just pulls you somewhere, or even one that you can basic do like basic swinging on, that part is like I think like if I had just done that, I would have been done a lot sooner.
yeah,
um,
yeah,
I just wanted to go. I wanted to like make it feel like unique and interesting, and
Mm.
but I have Vizium to thank for how good the swinging looks now because I couldn't figure out how to get her like the puppet to move with the swing. Like
yeah.
when she was swinging
Hmm.
around, she was, standing up perfectly straight because actually rotating a puppet is like surprisingly tricky. And Vizian figured that out for me, and I'm very thankful for that because it looks so good now,
It
and it's
does.
just fun to play
It's
around with.
amazing. It is really fun to play with that swing as well, like just to toy around with it. It's the same. I get the same feeling with that as the swinging in Spider-Man, like where you just want to keep swinging around because it's done so perfectly. You get that same feeling with Grid, with the way that you've done it. So you really have perfected that swing mechanic. It's fantastic.
Thank you. And it's actually funny because like I never really wanted it to necessarily be like about swinging from like point to point, but it just ended up being so fun that I
Mm,
definitely want that to be a part of the
yeah.
game now. It's like
Awesome.
I guess I can talk about the actual like plan for the game. Like it's kind of meant to be more like a Monster Hunter type game where you go out to a relatively small arena, almost boss arena, and fight some kind of interesting boss. And like that's the dreams part of it is like I want to keep the scope small where like you're hanging out at like a central point and then like can go out on relatively small levels. Like I definitely don't want to try to make like a big open world game that's just like not going to fit
Yeah.
in the thermo. Um, and honestly, like that's all. That's I'd rather make something like more like that. But like the part that like the real like DNA behind like how I want the game to feel is a lot closer to like Shadow of the Colossus
Hmm.
or Breath of the Wild in the just in like the minute to minute sense. Like I really like how both of those games like there's so like physics are such a big part of it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of a lost art a bit in games where like just like the physicality of what you're doing can play a role in it. Like in Shadow of the Colossus, there's on the third one, there's the one with like the big sword that it slams down, and then you run up the sword. And the way you're supposed to actually do that fight is get it to hit like a stone platform that breaks off some of the armor, which makes it easier to climb. But if you stand on the sword and then kind of use the physics of it pulling the sword back, you can skip that part of the fight. And I was like, I remember seeing a speedrunner doing that. I thought that was like the coolest thing ever. Like, I love seeing how like timing and messing around with physics can make a game feel so much more dynamic. Like, I think that's why people love Halo so much. The way like vehicles can just go flying all over the place, and like just the wacky things you can do, like jumping out of a vehicle and shooting a rocket launcher in Battlefield and stuff like that.
If
So
I
like
were to
that's oh, go ahead.
if I were to interrupt you for a second, because I saw something that I had not seen before on this character. She
Mhm.
does the current version still have the cassette tape player in her arm?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I could get into that. Music is actually like a really big part of the game. Like the monsters she's fighting are like these kind of Lovecraftian, classic like big blob of flesh and eyes and tentacles and stuff is the idea. It's
Cthulhu.
like I'm
Got
trying to build like
it.
yeah, yeah. And the idea is that the music that plays from the speakers in her arm has like supernatural qualities that keeps her mind from being lost when looking at these things. Um,
Oh, that's
Mm.
awesome. See, I knew
Yeah,
it.
that's
As soon as I
cool.
saw that tape, the cassette tape, I was like, please God, let there be a real reason for this because it's so cool. I immediately started hearing music in my head. That was just like, oh, if you had like a soundtrack to each monster and if that controlled progression through the game, like which monster you could go to take on next. That would, anyway,
no,
very
you're
Mega
you're
Man-ish.
totally on the money. Like
Uh,
like I'm still kind of working out how much it actually affects the game, but like as far as like world and lore goes, that's totally the idea. Like
oh,
Mm.
I don't know how much I should get into it, but like Grit is kind of unique in that she can like actually harness that energy for herself. It's normally coming from someone like endowed with that ability to like manipulate music and empower other people to fight. But
mm.
she has a unique condition that allows her to do that on her own using pre-recorded music. So that's why that's like integrated into her arsenal. But like
Like,
kind of a like this is like was it was the fact that like she has done it in a kind of inefficient way with this like big meaty mechanical arm. Like she is missing part of her arm. Like that's like a but it is like it's a very like uh it's like not necessarily the most like efficient way to do this, but like she thinks it's cool. Like that's kind of part of her character. um she's going for people familiar with Berserk. At this point in her story, she's going through a bit of like a black swordsman phase where she's kind of very angry and lashing out and has adapted her arsenal accordingly. Like ripping off the mechanical arm to make a hammer is really cool. It doesn't necessarily like the most logical way to use her abilities, but she thinks it's awesome. It's
it's
really like
No, it
absolutely
is.
necessary.
It
It's
yeah, it's
absolutely
amazing.
necessary. It's the way it should be done, in my opinion. But yeah, like I'm glad you're going into more of the lore behind this because yeah, it's just I'm 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 highly anticipating seeing all of this put together and what the end product is going to look like or aim to look like. So,
But I feel
oh,
like I'm getting really close on that. Like if you can believe it, I'm almost done with all of her, like the actual stuff she can do. Um, like I redesigned her baton that you're seeing in a lot of these clips to be a cane just because I think that's cooler and it ties more into like her father figure in the story. And the like kind of in designing that, I was like, all right, I want it to be more of a tool than a weapon. Like I want all the offense to be all about her arm. So like the sword, the gun, the fist, the hammer. But the cane is more of a it's like a gameplay. It's like a defensive tool, so you can use it to deflect projectiles, and it also can like what I'm working on right now is it's like a segmented whip, like the cane in Bloodborne,
Mm.
um, and there's like electricity in it, so you can use that as a way to kind of crowd control smaller enemies that I'm working on. Because like I wanted to have like at least some smaller enemies in the game. Like you'll still like the big boss is always the focus, but the smaller enemies can kind of like break up the pacing and give you like
Mm.
some stuff to kill in one hit. Um, that's actually a big part of the game in general. Is I'm trying to really avoid life meters in general, like any kind of meters in the game. I want like everything to have tactile feedback to it. Like when you punch something that's breakable, it just breaks. If you slice the tentacle with sword mode, it comes off. If you shoot something that is shootable, it's probably going to take one shot. Like that's kind of
Mm. Yeah.
focus overall. Is like, I mean, I love your Metal Gear Rising, your God of Wars, your all that, where you're like, stringing combos and everything together. Even like in Elden Ring, like getting a bunch of hits in before getting out. Like, I love those games, but that's not what I want to make. I want to make something that has like kind of that hype level of games like that, but feels really different.
Hmm. Do we get
Yeah.
to see her, or will we get a chance to see her without the hat? Because I noticed there was
Uh,
that art you just created that showed like a rendition of her
oh yeah, that
without with the hat off to the side. I'm like, will we get that, or is it
is
she's
definitely in
supposed
the
to be the
game. Yeah,
faces? Oh, okay, all
yeah,
right.
absolutely. The plan is that between missions, you're hanging out in her apartment. She's kind of just starting out in her adult life and like in her own place for the first time. And when you're back at the apartment, that like might be a place where you can, if I make anything customizable, then like that will be the place to maybe like change some aspects of her loadout, listen to whatever music you've unlocked, stuff like that. And in
Mm.
that scenario, she'll have like the coat off, she'll have the hat hanging up. Um, and yeah, like, I definitely want to show that off, especially since one of my collaborators did an amazing job on a new facial sculpt for her that's way better than the one I did. And that's in game right now. That's Kimaraki. I've never actually said her username out loud, but she's done amazing things for this game. Like she did the head sculpt for Grit, and she has done lyrics for this really awesome song that Bumbleberg did for the game.
Oh.
Um, it's so fucking cool. Like, I, I don't know how I'm gonna make a game that lives up to this song, but that is going to be the first playable level in the game uses that song, and I'm hoping I can build something that lives up to that hype because it's so good. It's actually, I think he released it. So like, if you look up Fist of Iron on the Dreamiverse, it's such a good song. Like Kimaraki actually like looked at the lore that I had documented on the Discord channel for the game and like wrote these really great lyrics that actually fit Grit as a character extremely well. And Bumbleberg like absolutely understood the assignment when I said I wanted this song to be like the game's rules of nature moment. Like if you've played Metal Gear Rising, there's that first boss fight where you block this like ridiculously giant robot sword and like the vocalist screams rules of nature and then you like run up the sword and slice the robot apart and it's like those hype moment that's ever been in
Mm.
a video game. um, that's like the moment I was trying to create. And between the two of them and under wait, I'm gonna say his username wrong, like Under Oath and some numbers, he's also helping out with the mixing, and the song just sounds so amazing and professional and way beyond anything I would have ever expected. Because like music in general, like that was the biggest like gap in my skill set for working on the game. Like, and
Mm.
I never would have expected that I would get something so awesome just from like asking people nicely to do it.
Yeah,
Um,
Ninja in chat said 77. So is it Under Oath 77?
yeah, that sounds right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I
Uh,
guess from there, being that you've gone into the lore, of Grit, and you're not waiting, making us wait for more information. You're giving it up a little freely right now. I kind of want to shift, if unless you want to go into more with Grit
I don't know.
directly.
That's pretty much the most of it. Actually, I do have a Discord channel for anyone who's interested in learning more about the game, and I have it all like documented there in a couple of channels.
Oh
So like,
wow.
Feel
Okay.
free to
if anyone
drop the
wants to check
link in
that out,
chat.
yeah, I can. I'll drop that in right now.
And we're not
And I also
necessarily.
kind of like people like for anyone hanging out in there, like if you want to help out with the game, there's resources for that. And but in general, like it's just a no obligation casual space to hang out. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Oh no, you're fine. The I was just saying we're not going to completely get off of Grit, but I did want to go back to what you were saying about your experience creating Grit within Dreams. And as a game dev by trade, how does Dreams fit as a tool for your own aspirations?
So like honestly for me it's like totally separate. Like for me dreams like that it's just a nice hobby outside of work. Um like being a UX designer like actually it's funny in game dev I don't work that often in engine. I'm doing a lot of like it's almost like the blueprinting of the like UI or the player experience, like
Yeah.
making sure that they understand how to get through a login screen or character select or
Mm.
whatever it may be. Um, so like it's funny, like even though Dreams is a game making tool and I work in game dev, it's almost like it's like two totally separate state like headspaces for me.
That's a good thing, because most
Yeah.
of the people who are in the industry that we've spoken to, or in alternative creative industries, some of them are able to separate the two, and therefore it's a vacation. Whereas other
Mhm.
people, it's still work. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's like
Yeah.
if the day job is too much, they can't do it at night. It takes a little bit longer. So that's good for it to be a separation. But let me, because you kind of went into it there, but I want to poke at it just a little more.
Sure.
Like, does it help you cover the areas, the skills that you may not be familiar with already in the industry? So it's like it gives you a chance to play around with things that other people won't be smacking your hand away, like you don't know what you're doing, get away from that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like grit is my chance to like and dreams in general is my chance to do all the stuff that I don't do at work. That like I get to like I walk around and see all the cool shit that people are doing on their monitors and like it's my chance to do some cool shit because like I'm really proud of what I do and I'm appreciated very much. Like I get that sense from people and it's a very nice environment to be in.
Yeah.
But like UX, if you do your job right, nobody notices it, which is fine.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
that's just the nature of the job. Like if you if you do your job right, then people don't have any friction with the game and don't notice any like or like don't have any problems or don't do anything they didn't mean to do, that sort of thing.
Oh, I, I still want to poke a
You
little
want more.
more.
You want
I
more.
want to
Yeah.
poke
You
a
want more.
Yeah,
little bit more.
working in the industry in general, I'm happy to talk about that
Yeah.
stuff.
So, do you treat Grit as a creation once you get the full scope done? Is it set to be something that lives in dreams, or are you ironing out a prototype for something you could kind of push later? Like, you're going to try to get made at a higher level, you know, not necessarily say anything about your job you currently have or anything like that, but is it something that you plan? Because if you started with RPG, RPG Maker, and then something came along that allowed you to expand on it, I would only naturally assume that you hope to expand this again, like, but
It's
have
actually
a more vivid picture of what you're aiming for.
It's funny, like, because I think about it, and like in theory, I might have like the connections to do it, but at the same time, though, like I feel like if I relinquish too much control over it, like if I were to somehow like pitch it to a publisher and get like a team working on it, I feel like the game. Okay, so I'll put it this way: I'm not really I'm actually doing my job bad working on Grit, if that makes sense. Like the controls, I actually feel they are not that intuitive. Oh, this is awesome art by one of my collaborators. Like they did this after the fact, just as like a way to kind of do some cool art for Grit. When
Mhm.
I was like trying to work out some certain aspects of where I wanted to redesign, but it basically was like, oh my god, someone drew my character, so that was very exciting.
Yeah.
Um,
Always great.
yeah, but yeah, they and they're working on an awesome Hellboy game. If you've seen that around in Dreams, I actually helped out with them a little bit with Hellboy's coat. That game's gonna be super cool.
Mm.
It's like Arkham Asylum, but Hellboy. That game's gonna be
Oh
super fun.
wow.
So,
Yeah, I feel like I've seen someone have a sculpt for Hellboy, but I don't think I've seen what it's attached to. So that's interesting. I'm a fan of the character.
yeah, yeah, it's super cool. I would definitely look that up. I've realized like I should have like wrote down people's usernames or something so I could like plug them properly. But if you look up like Hellboy on Dreams, you'll find it. But yeah, as far as like Grit being outside of Dreams, I don't know. I've like really embraced her just being within that headspace. Like everyone working on Grit, is just doing it because they want to. Like, I'm not offering to pay anybody because I don't plan on the game making any money. And like it's like everyone, and because of that, I try to keep it as like low obligation as possible. Like
Mm.
I never like check in on anyone. Like if someone says they're going to do something, I'm like, all right, awesome, and then I don't follow up because like I don't want to put pressure on anybody. I just want people to have fun working on this with me, and I feel like I've gotten really awesome results from people keeping with that mentality. That's like been the
Mm.
biggest part of like that's been like just my goal overall with like anyone helping out is like just like let them do their thing. Like a lot of those like meaty assets in the background were made by one of my collaborators. Like that's like his deal. He just makes these awesome like I have like a quest board in the Discord, which is just like the list of tasks that like if someone wants to help, they can, but I'll eventually get to all of it. And I'd
Mm.
like flesh cookie on there was one of the. I needed like an asset for kind of building creature bodies that could be like tiled and repeated, so they did that. And um, yeah, no, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but yeah, like that's kind of how I feel about Grit currently.
Well,
It would almost like feel weird to take it outside of Dreams, because like I feel like if it was put in a situation where people's livelihoods depended on the game selling well, it probably would stray too far from the vision I'm trying to create. Because I kind of alluded to that a little bit. I like the controls are not very intuitive. Like all your offense is on the left trigger. Nobody does that. The like generally the feedback I get from people who check it out, like their headspace is very much in like a Souls like or like a
Mm.
Devil May Cry like action game, and it's like I could totally 100% see where people are coming from with that, but like it's like not what I'm trying to make. Like I'm trying to make something very specific that I feel like if like money was on the line, it would like stray from that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
hmm.
I'm
Interesting.
no Kojima. I can't sell Death Stranding on it.
Well, I mean, real talk, it just depends on the scope you're going for. It's kind of like the same thing as like, if you're making, it wouldn't be the same amount of money, but same thing as if you look at like the first Paranormal Activity. That movie made 50 million times its budget and it was made for $10,000. You
I
you
hate
don't
how much that terrified me.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, nobody, you don't have to be Kojima scale, that says it has to be like a huge publisher either. I mean, already, as I always tell people about games and Dreams, there are things in Dreams that I see all the time where I'm like, with the, like, on the right platform, this could be sold right now.
Hmm.
And, you're still working on this. We want to see we want to see it when it's all together. but it already looks quality. And if you did have a full team, if it got to that point, you could have a chance to actually pay attention to the things that you don't like the, like the, you say you don't really like the controls and not intuitive. You could either be that or you could just be like, hey, I need this to be more intuitive. And then you could be the person at the job who just calls people for what they want. But no, anyway, just time back to
totally
something
get
we
what
spoke
you're
about.
saying.
Yeah. But I just always like to see people shooting for, if Dreams doesn't offer certain things in the long run, I like people to have that confidence to be like, I'm going to take this and go further than what I'm doing now. But then again, it all depends on why you're doing it. And if this is your vacation from work, let it stay that, because things do change when it becomes a job. When it becomes a job, it's a whole different animal. So I'm just I kind of want to keep it going because we finally got to the grappling hook part of this, and I'm just watching you swing around, having so much fun with this character. Oh, it's so good.
Part where I like laughed with how excited I was when I added the yank that you're seeing, where she kind of pulls on it and just goes towards it. That's so fun to do. And it's funny because like you could just reel it in too. Like that also works, but the yank is just more fun. So they're both in there.
Cool. Have you showed this to your colleagues at work and showed them what you're making? Do they know what Dreams is and what you're doing with it, or?
Yeah, I've showed it a little bit. I do. Like I sometimes like will share it in like work Slack and stuff. It's like, hey, here's this cool thing I'm making, and like, and then usually that's followed up with like, wait, what is Dreams? Which I'm sure everyone here can relate to that. But I always have fun doing the classic like Dreams pitch, explaining what it is to people. And I've had at least one coworker tell me that they bought it for their kids, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But in general, yeah, like it's actually funny. One person that I work for, like they reached out to me because they were interested in kind of prototyping, and they thought I was working in Unreal when I was posting clips of this on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, it's Dreams. Let me show you what that is. And that was like a really fun experience.
Awesome. Yeah. I
Always
always
spreading
like
the
to
word.
hear, because I have there have been complications, just so I'm completely upfront with everyone on the podcast. But I'm still working on getting the actual God of War dev on here.
Barry Garlow?
No, oh hell no!
Oh,
that guy's
God, no,
stupid.
no.
That guy's way above. I couldn't possibly even get a comment from that dude at this point, especially being that he's working on whatever secret next IP that
multiple
studio.
Multiple things they're working on at the moment, aren't they? So
yeah. So, but yeah, like I always tell people, we've been in talks with, or are in talks with people from Insomniac, from Santa Monica, a few others that I'm not going to talk about just yet. And yeah, it's just, I always like to hear from people in the industry to put things into perspective, because we are at most, we are fans. Super fans of gaming and what Dreams means to gaming. And so to hear someone that can go past our speculation within things is always something that we welcome. But I'm glad that to get back on point here, I'm glad that you have, begun the indoctrination of people at your own offices.
Just spreading the seeds and see what grows from them. It's nice.
Oh yeah, totally. I always have a lot of fun just like showing people what you can do in Dreams, and like it's like there are a lot of people who like even like people who work in the industry, but like like if they do go home and try to make something on their own, it does feel like work, and like that's what's so great about Dreams. It's like you just sit on your couch and make stuff with a controller.
Yeah.
Like it's like the same reason I don't really like gaming on PC, because that feels like work. Because I'm sitting in a computer in an office chair using a keyboard and mouse. I just can't do it.
Huh. Interesting. That'll come in handy for our later topic. Uh,
Spicy
so
one.
Ninja says Bend Studio and Guerrilla Games stream Dreams occasionally. Might be some voluntary love there somewhere. I have tried reaching out to Guerrilla. Did you reach out to
I
Bend?
I reached out to both Gorilla and Bend.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how all that pans out. But anyway,
I
let's.
discovered I want to shout out Nefrendo, who did the Grits chest armor and shoulder pad because I was having a lot of trouble making those look good. They look so
Ah,
good now.
I do believe I follow Nefrendo on Twitter.
Yeah, she
But
makes awesome, like those awesome like community garden, does those like community garden showcases and
yes,
challenge.
I know who
yeah.
you're speaking of. Yeah.
Single-handedly responsible for probably like 20% of the assets and dreams that no one wants to make.
Oh, it's
This
true.
was a
It's
fun
true.
animation to do. Like when I added the cane, I needed her to put it somewhere while she's reloading the gun, and I was reminded of like the coolest little detail in the Resident Evil 2 remake is when Leon is reloading his gun, and maybe Claire does it too. I haven't played her story yet, but when they're reloading the gun while aiming, they tuck the flashlight under their neck so it's still pointed forward.
Hmm.
Like that's such a cool little detail. I wanted
Yeah,
to
that
try to
is.
that
I wish I liked
like that's like
Resident Evil. But no, it's to clarify, it's not that I don't like Resident Evil, it's that I don't play horror games.
Yeah.
Like I just
Yeah.
don't. But I would watch my friend play it all the time before he moved away. And so I would see every horror game. But yeah, that stuff's too stressful for my life. I
I'm
got enough.
yeah, I vary. Like I've played a couple Resident Evils, but in general, I tend to veer away from horror games.
Yeah. And especially that Callisto Protocol.
Oh
That's
God.
just seeing that game. I'm just like, yeah, I'd never do it.
No.
I'd never do
Nope.
it. Mm-mm.
Nope.
It's actually funny. A former like team member from my team left to go work at that studio, and I was like at the time, I was like, "Who's this Striking Distance studio? I've never even heard of them." And then like the first trailer for their game comes out, I'm like, "Oh damn!"
Yeah, yeah.
Now I know
It's
who these people are.
yeah. It's good to
Yeah.
see that. It's good to see that studio getting at least most of the praise it deserves at this moment, just because of everything with them and EA, and how Dead Space ended up because of just
Yeah,
unfortunate situations. So I'm glad to see them just creating anything, because Dead Space was, I think, the last. Well, Dead Space 2 was the last horror game I think I tried. Yeah, I think that was the last horror game I tried, and I actually enjoyed it playing it with my friend. Was it 2 that had co-op? I think it was 2,
I think
or
it
was
was
it?
two. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, but they were taking advantage of the fact that as long as I have another person with me, I'll play anything. I'll play something I hate as long as I can play it with a friend. Um, but yeah, yeah. So with that, I mean, you kind of already went into your overall thoughts on Dreams. Do you have any thoughts as far as its future, like, and where you stand in it? Are you in it for the long run? Do you think it? Do you think well, I don't want to phrase it that way because I don't want to start people over with their dreams is dead memes,
Yeah.
because that's just not possible. It exists. It can't be dead. Like, but like, do you see yourself sticking with it, and what would you want from a future in dreams?
I definitely see myself sticking with it because there's just nothing else out there like it that just lets me make stuff with like so little effort in the
Hmm.
like as far as like setup goes. Like I feel like the only thing I would move on to is like Dreams 2, I guess. Um, I definitely lean on the side of like I don't see any uh like people keep on saying that it's dead, but it's like you're not there, man. You don't know what's going on, or like like behind the scenes how like what the meetings are for what's going on, and like I mean, sure from the outside it might look like it just because there isn't like a million people on it like Roblox and stuff, but like if Dreams was dead, then Media Molecule would probably stop streaming it and we'd stop getting updates, and that's hasn't happened. So Dreams is fine. Relax.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
my take on that generally. Like it's clearly selling well enough, and doing well enough to keep like to like for Media Molecule to be able to put resources on continuing to work on it and stream it and market it and do all these events like that money, like they wouldn't do that for a game that's dead.
Yeah.
So like it's fine. Dreams is fine.
Yeah.
that's fine.
I mean,
I,
I tend to agree with you. Just because for me, it's like even if they weren't doing all that stuff, it exists now. Like you could have been worried during the whole like 7 to 10 year building process, but you didn't. Like now that it's out, it exists. It's not going anywhere. So
Exactly.
I mean, that's how I feel about it now. But I'm gonna have to backtrack a little on that statement because of our final topic.
Here we go.
Are you guys ready?
Oh.
Yeah, I hope y'all took some time to think about this before I go into
I can
it.
just see chat now, just like whoosh, 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 with all the comments.
Well-
I think my answer is going to be really boring. But
So, all right. The question and the take is, would Dreams be better on Xbox? And I'm going to tell you how I got there. So, I had a thought at the end of last week and kept returning to it. Like, what started the thought was I thought to myself, like, how in the hell did PlayStation allow Ninja Theory to get swallowed up by Xbox? Now, I say allowed, but who knows? It may have been a developer choice. But I'm a huge fan of Ninja Theory. Been a fan since, huh?
Yeah, they make awesome stuff.
Yeah, like Heavenly Sword still remains one of my favorite PlayStation games of all time. I think that game still has probably some of the greatest like performance captures in a game. Like it blows me away still when I see it.
Yeah, I played that like many years after it came out. I was like, damn, this is great.
Yeah, brilliant
yes.
game.
So
Same with Enslaved also.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Same with Enslaved, Odyssey to the West.
Oh,
like,
Odyssey to the West.
Like, yeah, great game.
And the heavily maligned though really good DMC. Like I liked their Devil May Cry game.
Yeah, the DMC game was fantastic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So recently I bought an Xbox Series X for my living room because another PlayStation wasn't on the market. Like I couldn't find a PlayStation. I was like, I don't want my movies in my main space coming through like a drive or a server area. I was like, I want pristine, for when I'm not using technically my actual movie collection. And so I was like, let me get a really expensive Fire Stick, a really expensive Chromecast, and yeah, so got it, and I've been running Game Pass on it a bit, getting more familiar with Game Pass because I used to have it only on my PC for like a month before I got rid of it on PC and console. So it made me think to myself as I read through the most recent episodes of people bickering about Dreams on Twitter, would it have been better off as an Xbox exclusive? And
okay.
Yeah, but before I get going into my list of what would be pros and cons, because I'm not saying one way or the other per se, But I really had to have this conversation with myself, and it lasted throughout days. So, so I'm like, I want to talk about this on the podcast. So, before I give my pros, cons, thoughts, what do you guys think?
Jordan, go ahead.
I would say it would probably be on Game Pass, which means a lot more people would be playing it, which is cool. It's actually someone in the chat said it probably would also be on PC, also cool. That's kind of where it ends with me. So I'm just like, oh yeah, like in that ecosystem, they're better set up to put games on services that a lot of people are on, and it might have reached a wider audience. But other than that, like I don't. The thing is, like, it's weird because it's like, okay, does that mean that Media Molecule is owned by Microsoft? Because like, I wouldn't want Dreams not made by Media Molecule. They're so good at like um, getting the most out of the console they're working with, and there's a lot more toys to play with on Sony consoles than Xbox consoles. Like, if like historically in Media Molecule games, if the console has a feature, they support it, no matter how goofy or weird it is. Like, Xbox One controllers don't have gyro controls, so controlling your imp would probably be just with the joystick. So yeah, like I don't know. I don't know if it would be better off, but it might have reached a wider audience. That's kind of where I sit.
Okay, so a lot of the points have already been made of where I stand with it, and I think the game as it is wouldn't be what it is now. Like you said, Xbox controllers don't have gyroscopes, and for me, being able to physically move the controller to navigate Dreams is the only way. I refuse to do it with analogs. It just doesn't feel natural to me. And Dreams is the only game where I feel an accelerometer and gyroscope for controls makes actual sense. Any other game is just a gimmick, but for Dreams, it's the way that you control it. So I think moving around in Dreams would be a lot worse. The point of it is, for me, I think Xbox as a whole would have marketed Dreams a hell of a lot more than Sony have. It would have been pushed a lot more because I reckon it would have been day and date on PC. Like, as it released, it would have been available on both platforms. So that would have been a massive reach for Dreams with it being accessible on PC straight away. I think that monetization and exportation would have also been explored a lot quicker with Microsoft because they have a lot of avenues there where that is feasible, and they would have saw it more as a platform as opposed to a game if it was done through Microsoft. But I think, personally, I don't think that Dreams would have been what it is if it would have been owned by Microsoft. I think they would have been a lot more involved in the development process. Whereas I think with Sony, they just kind of just let Media Molecule do what they want to do. It's just their creative studio. Do you know what I mean? It's just like we own them, we fund them, and we just let them do what they want. Like that's the kind of vibe I feel Sony has with them. It's more of their creative experimental studio. Whereas I feel that Microsoft would have been more invested in the opportunities that could come from Dreams, and therefore would have been more hands-on nitpicking with what Dreams is going to be and how it's going to be developed. So I don't personally think that Dreams would have been what it is today if it would have been owned by Microsoft, but a lot of more opportunities could have been opened by it. So, 6 and 2, 3.
I would say the point about Microsoft being more involved, not necessarily being a good thing. Like I would have totally agreed with that, except for an episode of the Friends Per Second podcast I was listening to recently, where they got Matt Booty, who's like head of studios for Xbox, and like hearing the way he talks about working with studios, especially like the ones that Microsoft has started to pick up, it seems like they're taking a much more like
hands-off approach.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah,
like he says, like
yeah.
his job is getting studios the resources they need, as opposed to meddling in the development.
Well, that's what they're doing now. It's not what they was doing before. And
Totally,
if we're
yeah.
talking about when Dreams was being developed, at that point in time, Microsoft was very involved with all the studios that they had and all the games that was being developed, which obviously turned into the problems they had.
See,
which is
I
why
still
now
disagree.
Oh no, 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 no.
I still disagree because you have to remember this drought of Xbox and their non-exclusives that's been going on for about a decade now, if not a little longer. Like they've had Forza, Gears of War, failed Halos,
Yeah,
and that's pretty much it. And before that, the only exclusives that really came out for the other than those three for the last Xbox console was like, what was that one called? Like re re it's like record or some, it was some,
Recall. Yeah,
yeah, recore.
yeah.
You can't tell me that Microsoft had their hands on that. I'm sorry, you can't convince me that they weren't sitting in the back going like, that they were sitting in the back going, you know what, this is it. I'm not gonna believe that, but I think that, to go back over it, because y'all did touch on pretty much, y'all touched on a lot of my points that I wanted to make, pros and cons. My pros were accessibility, Game Pass, automatic PC version, unlimited access. The fact that I see more, like, as I've talked about multiple times, where I'm going through comment sections from people like popular YouTubers who do their videos on dreams, um, and stuff, but there's literally tens of thousands of YouTube comments where people are just like not Dreams users, but people who want to be Dreams users that are like, is the PC version like, talked about? Is it gonna come? Like, I really want to try this game, like, or try this creation suite or whatever. And there's so many of those comments that, yeah, it does come into, it would probably be a larger player base, and Microsoft has a lot more resources in the PC department and could dedicate to it rather quickly. Um, Also, there's the possibility of faster integration of PC utilized peripherals. Yeah, they don't have the Move controllers, which is definitely a con. They don't have PSVR, which is a con until they get the Quest Game Pass thing up, which is supposed to be coming relatively soon. But
Just to
you
clarify on the Quest thing, that's literally playing Game Pass games flat in VR. That's it. That's all that's
is
going to
it
be. Yeah, yeah. So you're just playing Xbox Game Pass games on like a virtual big screen
virtual
in
big
VR.
screen? Okay,
That's all that's going to be.
huh? Okay, well, still, that's terrible. That's I'll just go ahead and say that. That's
Yeah,
awful.
it's awful.
If
Yeah, it's
that's the
terrible.
case, I can't
Yeah.
imagine why they would
Why?
do
Yeah, I
that.
don't understand why, but
But
yeah.
anyway, but there is still the possible fact. Like, I don't think the gyroscope is really that big a deal.
Oh yeah, no, that's a killer for me
The only
personally.
reason I say that is because, well, if you're using PC, which you still have the opportunity to use, like, if you're using PC, I would think that there would be a faster integration through the fact that Microsoft already deals in that department. It would be a bigger acceptance or a faster integration of like driver support. It wouldn't have to be developed through Sony. It would be, they already have the access to certain drivers. So me personally, I would trade the gyroscope for a mouse or a Wacom tablet any day of the week. That's me personally. So
I will say one detriment might just, and this is actually like, I have no insider knowledge about this at all, but this is just
at all.
observation. Microsoft is like Sony is very clearly like, we don't do monetization in our first party stuff. Like, we don't sell Kratos skins. We don't sell, like, there's no battle pass to make Atreus stronger. There's no, like, none of that stuff. And I think Dreams would have probably started leaning more towards the monetization aspect under Microsoft. And I'm personally not a fan of anyone's pitches for monetizing stuff in Dreams outside of being able to export your game and sell it somewhere. Like anything actually within the Dreams ecosystem, like I feel like any kind of monetization within that would totally ruin what it does so well.
Boom shakalaka. I wish I could tell you things that I know. that's all. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But I really do wish I could tell you things that I do know. Um, so anyway, um, so also as y'all talked about the marketing, Xbox is so strapped for exclusives at the moment that the marketing to push Dreams as an exclusive would be ginormous.
Yeah, it'd be huge.
Like, not to mention, you have the Xbox users. We'll call them the X boys. We'll call them the X boys, who are literally ravenous for anything at this point that isn't Forza.
Yeah.
Freaking Forza. And I'll never understand. But, like, Dreams would have been literally one of 3 mainstream exclusives that they have. It would have been uber pushed. Like, they really would have tried to sell the hell out of it. And then Game Pass, yeah, it would be on Game Pass, which goes against my other argument for why it shouldn't be on PS Plus. And, we'll go back into that if people want to. The other con that I came up with is that you'd have to have an Xbox.
Yeah, I haven't get boxes yet. Mostly because I don't have time to enjoy the benefits of Game Pass because I barely have time to play the games that I bought, let alone have access to hundreds.
Yeah, it's only because of my break from Dreams recently that I've had time to play anything. Because before that, Dreams was everything. I bought all the launch games except for Demon Souls, and I played none of them until like a month ago. So every moment was Dreams. So yeah, it's just let me see what chat is talking about here real quick. Imagine if Dreams Twitch had been Dreams Mixer and you can't plug your good mic into the Xbox. That's awesome. True. Never really thought about that scenario. That would have been crazy. Yeah. Well, damn, I'm late. I had to do something. So what did I miss? I'm proposing the question of would Dreams have been better on Xbox if it was an Xbox exclusive? Or not would it have been better because it's still Media Molecule. It would be great. But would Dreams have been better off if it were on Xbox? And yes, of course, Boom Shakalaka, we are assuming that Dreams would have been made at all. But
we're in the scenario that it was.
We're in the scenario that it was. And because in this hypothetical, Media Molecule would have, while working on Dreams, would have been bought by Microsoft. So we're going with the idea that they would have been able to make the game. So, yeah, I didn't think I would have to spell that out, honestly. But but yes, it's all hypothetical. None of this could ever happen. But it was a thought that I had that was so controversial, even to my own brain, that I wanted to bring it up to chat and see what they had to say. Maybe because there is the situation of Xbox games on PC like Project Spark. Yeah, I mean, I still
also brought up Project Spark as well.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, for me, it just like it came across my mind like Microsoft with their lack of exclusives, having something like Dreams, and I'm actually a fan of why am I, you know what? This is what happens when you don't get enough sleep. What's his name? Spencer?
Bill Spencer.
Yeah, Phil Spencer. I couldn't remember his first name. I was about to call him all sorts of first names. But I'm a fan of him. I like his I like his energy. He seems like he cares. He reminds me of the last dude from PlayStation. But yeah, it's just it came across to me like the marketing, the fact that it would have launched and automatically had the PC access, and all that stuff, and I was like, damn, would it have been an actual is it feasible that it might have been bigger? And I don't know. Like, I think by default it would have been. But the biggest point to bring up, which everyone has, is or has brought up, is the fact that, there's a lot of ifs. There's a reason this is speculation. But still a nice exercise. I see out of the corner of my eye people are not agreeing with with me on Phil Spencer. Let me see here. It just makes you think about what we don't have in terms of Sony push. Yeah.
Yeah.
Phil Spender, lol, or Phil Spencer, depending on what Xbox channel you watch. Boom Shakalaka says, Phil is a bit of a snake to me, like a Two-Face type of guy. What he says is what gamers want, but what he does is another case. We'll have to go into that more on another podcast where we're not talking dreams. But let me see. Microsoft already tried something like that again with Project Spark. I don't think it would have lasted very long as well. I think that there's an obvious.
Yeah, there's obvious reasons why Project Spark died.
Yeah, I don't know.
With Project Spark, there wasn't really any creation per se. It was all assets that was pre-made by Microsoft, and you just plopped them all together to create something. And if you wanted more assets, they was all behind DLC paywalls. That's why it died. You physically couldn't create something from scratch. It was just, here's a load of elements, whack them all together, and crack on with it.
See, and it's at what point did MM choose to partner with Sony for Dreams? Have they ever approached Microsoft before? I wouldn't know. These are questions that
they're owned by Sony. That's
no, but they weren't always.
Well, they was when they developed Dreams. They've owned them since Little Big Planet. So
yeah. So I mean, like I said, hypothetical again, guys. But it's because of these topics that I'll probably never be loved by Sony. But it's okay. They were never interested. I don't think we'd have all the great Shrek, Sonic, and Wario games if Dreams was Xbox. Quizem. Or Quizem. Yes, that is true. I don't think we would. Wait, this is kind of weird question, but a first-party PlayStation studio? Yes, they are.
Yes.
You couldn't tell for the. I know I sound salty, and I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little salty. But I still can't get over how on the PlayStation Studios graphic that they use.
I know. They're right in the corner.
There's a corner cut off where you can't even tell what it's a corner to, and that's Dreams. That's Media Molecule. On that whole big thing, there's just like a cut at the corner, and you can't even see what's actually being depicted there.
And you know what? It's so weird as well, because at one point, Media Molecule was the mascot of Sony, because Sackboy was Sony's mascot, for PlayStation. It's so weird to see the transition of Media Molecule was the #1 studio for Sony at one point because their creation was their mascot, and now they're just this tiny little corner. It's kind of sad.
I'm gonna see if I can look it up. Because if I can, it's... Oh, here you go. Hold up. Copy image address, or actually, open image. God, it makes me mad every time. It really pisses me off. Literally every time I see it. I just...
I mean, it's cut off. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so tucked in the corner that you just literally can't see.
Yeah, you can't see it. You have no idea what it is. Like that, it's indescribable. The only way you're going to know what that is if you play Dreams and you see that tiny blue imp. That's it. It's so sad.
I actually saw, I was watching, I was watching IGN. I'm not sure if it was yesterday or this morning, because like I said, I slept like crap. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm not at my peak form. But they put up they actually showed this, and I was just like, oh God, why? Like every time I see it, it makes me a little angry.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to put anybody on the bad side or be like, oh, you need to go and tell Sony to fix this. It just feels like it's saying something, and I don't like what it's saying. That's all I'm gonna say. I just see Ninja, that's foul. Oh my God, that's so bad. How does Days Gone get more respect? Right? It's
Yeah.
That's the type of stuff. Like Jamie said, if you weren't a player of Dreams, you would not know what that corner was.
No, you'd have no clue.
Hey, come on, Days Gone is epic amazing. I'm not saying that it's not a good game, but we all know and are aware of its shortcomings, as well as the fact that it's not getting a second, that it's not getting a follow-up for a reason. So, I ain't throwing shade at nobody. As I always say, the one thing Dreams has really taught me is a newfound respect for game developers, because it's pure magic. Like, I'm a movie guy. So for me, it's like when I talk about movies, I always tell y'all about how I see movies as literally people performing miracles. Because how many people are working on it? You have to be of the same mind. You're trying to create a cohesive vision. I attributed all that to, not that I didn't think that was a part of gaming or game development, but I just didn't think of game development in that way. I do now. It just, all you have to do is be on Dreams for like 5 minutes. Or try to open Blender and accomplish something without any knowledge of what you're doing.
Yeah, now
It's
imagine that
amazing.
you're with 200 other people trying to do the same thing.
Yeah. So, what's the red thing next to Dreams? Hold on, I have to pull up the.
Gran Turismo.
It's Gran Turismo. Okay.
Okay, it's car. Got it.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's just it probably doesn't even cross anyone's mind as disrespect who's actually in the they're just like, yeah, they had to make a banner, it has a specific thing, you gotta do it. But every time I see it, it does anger the hell out of me. It truly does. But okay, so I guess we've reached the end, ladies and gentlemen. Tell them where they can find your work and what you have up so far as Grit in Dreams.
Sure. Yeah. If you just search Grit demo on Dreams, you'll find it. I think I posted a link in the chat at one point. But yeah, like that's where I generally upload like the latest version that's playable. And anyone who wants to learn more about the game can come check out the Discord. And even if you want to help with the game, you can do that there too. I have like a quest board of little things that people can help with if they want to. In general, I just also wanted to shout out everyone who has helped with Grit. So you can actually hear me say it. You mean the world to me, and it's so amazing that you help me out just because you want to. That's super cool. I very much appreciate it. And those of you I forgot to shout out, I'm sorry. And yeah, I think that's my spiel.
Before we get going, I do want to remind everyone, because Jamie gave it to me last second, that the game jam or game and short film jam for the 100th episode of the Made in Dreams podcast is going to be due by next episode. So basically, you know what? we shouldn't do it for the next episode. We should do it for technically the Friday. So
Thank you, Bubble.
Friday the 8th. Isn't that
Yeah,
Friday? Wait,
yeah.
no,
Yeah.
the 9th.
No,
Friday is
no,
the
ninth.
9th.
Friday. No, Friday. Yeah, Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Friday the 9th.
Friday the 9th is when it's due. Everything will be shut down, and basically we'll have a week to go through your submissions and certain ones that we hope to integrate into the show itself, if it works out that way. And yeah, be ready to throw up. You see the rules. You see everything there. I'm going to throw up the second graphic because there we go. Those are the rules. And wait, JC Hedges, did you make that simplistic grappling hook logic yet? Simplistic. What is simplistic?
I remember mentioning to him a while ago, like I was going to try and make like the simple version of what I did without the physics and all that, where it just pull you and release that. I'm really bad at saying, "Oh yeah, I could do that," and release it, and then I don't.
Hey, time is time. It works. So, yeah, everybody, as far as the game and short film jam, go ahead and get those in. I'll put back up the other one real quick so you can see. Basically, hashtag MIDP100jam in the title. Make it easy for us to find. And yeah, we'll be going through all of that on the 100th episode. And I don't, other than a person who's very in contact with us about it, I'm not sure how many people are doing this.
I don't think a lot of people are, but if you know, whoever's done anything, thank you. It'd be great to see it on the show. But
yeah,
we know at least we got one, so
hey,
that's good enough. That's good enough for me.
Indeed. So, other than that, y'all have a great weekend. I'm gonna go and try to get some of that sleep that I missed. And God, I had to pull up that banner. I had to pull up that banner one more time.
That's annoyed you now, isn't it?
Y'all, I hope y'all don't think I'm playing this up, but the first time they showed it, I was like, "That's annoying." Like, the first time.
Wazowski getting covered up by the logo in the Monsters Inc. commercial.
Oh God, yes, yes, that. So, let me see here. So, who's online right now? Who do we got to go to?
Let's take a look.
See, Mash Button, it's Darms. I think I follow like almost everyone who streams on Dreams. I just like search and see who's streaming Dreams, and then I follow them before I even like see I do.
I believe that's it. I believe it's Mash Button and Dams. That's the only two streaming right now.
All right, and Mash Button. What's I'm not followed.
Mash_button.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I will go ahead and start that raid. And
he's raiding us.
What?
Oh no. Oh no, we're raiding.
Oh wait. Oh, I read that wrong.
Yeah.
My bad.
Okay, I was like, oh no.
Oh no.
Well, we will go ahead and get that done. Again, thank you, everybody. We appreciate you for jumping in, and as well also taking that topic with some grace, okay? Because I was afraid that some people were going to be how dare you?
Yeah, I thought it was going to go another way, but it went actually really good. Everyone gets some valid points and stuff, so.
It's a good chat.
Indeed. Well, catch you later, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks again for having me on.
Of course.